Hey everybody, and welcome back. Well, as you can see, I don't think you can see to the ground, but anyway, the bike's standing here on its stand, put the foot on and branched all together. So, still haven't decided what to do with that. I noticed I had some comments, but we'll go over that later on. Right, so, obviously you got the video yesterday on Sunday. It uploaded as normal, but as there are so many variables involved, I can't say it's because it was under an hour, but I'll make sure it's under an hour in future. I mean, when I say under an hour, what was that, 40 something minutes? We can maybe make it 50 odd, it just depends. You might get some slightly truncated videos because sometimes I'll be halfway through the week and I'll maybe only have 30 odd minutes, and I think that's fine, and I'll come out the next day and work, and when I go and put that in, suddenly I've got, you know, an hour's worth or 50 odd minutes worth, and I'm not finished what I wanted to do. So if I go to put the video in and it's suddenly an hour, I might lop a couple of the pieces off and just put a thing to say, you know, see next week, whatever. Anyway, so what's happening? As I say, I haven't made my mind up what to do about the prop stand. If I take the wheel out, I can get in and look and see if I can put a spring on the back. I don't know. I might be able to, because it's you know, if you imagine that's the swinging arm, the spring mount doesn't actually sort of stick out the back here. It's round a little bit and it points down slightly, so there might be the clearance for the tyre. I mean, this thing is, as I say, it's so narrow. So I had a comment about greaves and I'd forgotten about that. The actually, it's not on one greaves frame. The pointing down here, where the footrest plate is, you remember I made new plates for it. It has a sort of standoff at the bottom. The plate doesn't bolt up flat. The actual mounting for the plate is over here, and it has a piece of tube that's welded to the plate as a standoff. Well, you may remember I couldn't fathom out where the prop stand was, and then I saw some photographs, and the prop stand actually pivoted on that tube, on that standoff, and flipped right up, and on the frame there's a little tab, and they used to fasten it to that. So there wasn't a spring, they'd just take whatever it was out and it would flop down, stand it, put it up. So it's not exactly as if I'm breaking new ground here. And I had a comment, well, I think I had a couple of comments about, oh, just, you know, as I'd seen in photographs, put another bracket and everything on. Enough's enough. We can manage with that. So what I might do is try and rig up to start it while I've got it down. I just wanted to put it down here to make sure it's stood all right on this prop stand, which it does. That's fine. So just for a bit of daftness, I think we might try and start it, see what happens. Then I still have the chain tensioner to do. I still have, maybe I should do this mounting for the head first, get that out of the way, and then we're going to start cutting some cardboard to work out how the tank is going to go on. And then we'll have the thing where the tank will take me forever, but there won't be a lot of opportunities for video, because you don't want to see me standing there for an hour banging that and wheeling it. So we'll see what's what with that. So anyway, let me see if I can rig things up. I'm going to do those two clips. Just ordered as well from McMaster Car. I ordered the 3003 alloy to make the tank. I could have got some clips the right size. Never mind. What was I going to say? What was I going to say? Oh yeah, let me just see if I can rig up a fuel supply And we'll just, as I say, for a little bit of daftness, see if this will start. Alright then, let's see what happens. I put a kill switch on so we can stop it. Whoa, that's got some compression. Oh, that nearly started. Oh, gee. Almost fatal error, folks. I haven't put any oil in this engine. Hang on. Well, that would have been good, wouldn't it? Started and seized on its first test. I also, actually, I've just taken the plug out and kicked it over a lot to pump it round a little bit. Although there was some oil in it. I think they must fill these up, and I don't know if they just turn them over or something and then drain them for shipping. But there was traces of oil in it. Alright, we'll try again. Just push it past top dead centre. Wow, that's quite a lot. Well, I can't complain at that, can I? Impressive. Sensor sounds nice as well. Right, we'll switch that off. Excellent. Excellent, Pete. Ooh, right. Very good. Alright, let me push it up on the lift table. We'll get this done, I think. And then I'm going to look at the tank. Like I did with the wiring the other week where I just fancied a change. I fancy getting on with at least the design of the tank, and we have to make the wire buck and everything. Well, that was something, wasn't it? Alright, let's move on. Alright, so this engine's got 4 really good solid mounts. Sort of front and back, but top and bottom. They're not close to each other, they're not just single mounts. There's 4 good solid mounts. So this, I'm going to just assume is more, as with the BSAs and the Enfields, a sort of torque reaction stay for the engine trying to move with the torque of the, or the inertia one might think, of the flywheel trying to pull everything this way. The BSAs have a plate on top of the cylinder head. It's the one the valve lifter goes on, and then I'm going to open you out a little bit here, and then they basically have just something about the size of a mudguard stay. It's just a piece of tube with flattened ends, like the B44 rather, goes from here and just bolts to one side of the gusset. The Enfield, of course, has a cast lug there, the same, and it just has an arm that goes back here, an adjustable one, but it's just an arm. It's not, neither of them, BSA or Enfield, have it triangulated. As I say, it's merely this torque reaction thing. So I think what we'll do is make something that goes from there to there. So I made this. That goes on there like thus. We'll have a piece welded onto here, which will just go onto there. I think I'll weld it, I'll make it out of 3/6 alloy the same. I might make it out of rod with an end, and then just a piece on here that it'll bolt to. Take that bolt out, and it won't swing down much. Why won't that swing down? Yes it will, but not much. I was thinking it would swing down out of the way of the mounting, and then you pull this out and just take it off. Well, then it hits the carb. Well, actually, you pull that out and you can lift it up, can't you? Yeah. Hey, ho, help! That bounced well. So that will work for that. And seeing as I've got a couple of little jobs here, I'm going to make the bits up so that I can just bring the welder over here, do them all in one. And also, of course, I'll want to disconnect the electronics before I start welding on the frame. So that'll be that. So I need to put one lug on there and then make something up, but this obviously can be welded up on the welding table. Right, so the other thing on this side is the rear brake. Now I did get a comment about the gear change being on this side and therefore the brake will have to be on the other side. No, it doesn't. A number of the British trials bikes I've seen here, people have, because they're basically not used to riding with right hand gear change, left hand pedal, brake pedal, they put the brake pedal on that side as well. Don't forget, with trials, it's not like road racing where you're snicking, it's not even like road riding where you're constantly snicking through the gears. Particularly with these, you put it in first at the beginning of a section and you leave it in first. A lot of trials riders, even with things like Yamahas and stuff, they'll have the gear change lever sticking up vertically so that it's not sticking out anywhere. So I can definitely, I'm going to put the pedal on this side. Apart from anything else, I don't think there's enough clearance for the kickstart and everything on the other side to actually have a pedal there. So it maybe has to be on this side. So I've done a couple of little mods to this look. I've moved this forward or downwards a la Ossa, as I was telling you about, and that made that go down, so I've lifted that up. So I'm thinking of putting that somewhere like that. Right now, as I mentioned, my norm is to put centre of the footrest to the centre of the pedal 4 inches. For average size foot, that's pretty good. Right, so that means it wants to be about there, like that. And that's not bad because it clears that. We can just put a nut on there, put the bolt through this way. Then that, of course, is pulling down that way, so we can put our cable mount there, which is nice. Cable can go over the top like it does on the Greepser. So I was wondering whether I could just, this is the mounting, whether I could just fasten that on there. Because you see, I have all this bronze, and as I've mentioned, this is probably SIF bronze. I could look up SIF bronze and find a comparable, I mean the bronze I use here for gas bronzing might be the same. If it is, then that's fine. I can melt it all in with that, but the bronze, the composition of the bronze for TIG bronzing, it just doesn't really go with that. And then I could put that there, just giving me enough clearance for that, and that would be fine. See, what I'm thinking is bronze that on there like that. You see that? I look up SIF bronze, see what the composition is, you know, the amount of silicon, the amount of copper, etc, etc, and see if I can get a comparable one here, or if the one I use is comparable. Then we could put that there. The cable thing's no problem. I can fasten that to the plate here, keep it clear of the bronze. So what else is there? Oh, chain tensioner. I think what I'm going to do with the chain tensioner is keep the mount there, pivot, lengthen this so it's down here somewhere, put a new rubber on it. I don't know how they've got this thing on actually. It doesn't, I can't see a sort of bolt head. I'm going to have to take the wheel out to have a look. So we'll do that. Alright. Do you know, I'm not particularly motivated today. I think I'll go and do my bronze research and we'll come out and do these jobs tomorrow. So you can have an early finish today, and I'll see you in the morning. Good morning, everybody. Right, well, hopefully we'll be a little more motivated today. So I've actually taken the back wheel and the suspension units off the bike, and what I thought I would do is, because I'm going to cut these two things off. Oh god, I should have charged that battery last night. Never mind, I got another one. I thought I'd do a little test. So that is new bronze, and it's gone fine with the old bronze. I've gas welded it, so I think on the other side will be all right to do that. So let's have a look at a couple of things. So since we've got the wheel and everything out, I'm going to have a go at bending out these plates. I've been thinking how to do that. But also, look, there's the pivot for the chain tensioner. Let's see, it's bent in slightly, and this actually is shaped, but you can see with this, it's been touching the chain. But that's got a flat on it. I honestly don't see how that comes out. The other side is right up, almost up against the frame tube, and I tried to move that with a cold chisel. So let me work on that, because I want to get that off there. Then what we're going to do, as I say, is we're going to heat up the back of this right there, and I'm going to put a long bolt like a spreader, so I can do one side. I'll heat it up, put some tension on it, and hopefully pull it outwards, and then when that's cooled down, we'll do the same to the other side. Alright? Well, that's the plan, but I'm not sure if this is going to work. The idea is for me, as I say, to heat up the back here, because I'm not going to be putting the flame on the bronze that holds the footrest mount. Try and heat a line up down the back and then spread this out to move that. But unfortunately, these backs, of course, aren't sort of parallel to each other, so when I tighten this up, it's tending to walk, and it's walking inwards. So I don't know what will happen here. See, there's nowhere I can get a good grip on this to bend it. Not really, I don't think. Anyway, we'll try this, see what happens. Alright, let's give this a go. This doesn't seem to get up to red heat very easily. That didn't get cherry red. Still miles out. I don't know how I'm going to do this. Not with all this bronze in here. If I get it up to the right temperature, it's probably going to fall apart. Damn. I'll give it another go, see what happens. Alright, that did not work and is not going to work. I can't get those things hot enough without, I'm sure, damaging the chrome and things falling off. I got in and cut this side off that to get this off, and now I've cleaned it up. Look, that's actually got a screwdriver slot in it. I have no idea why they put the tabs on both sides of this swinging arm right down there. I mean, if they'd have put it here, you could have got at it, both sides. So, anyway, I've had a thought on the footrest. Let me move you. So the footrest pointing back, because we think this plate is bent in a bit. So if I can't bend the plate out, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this here, the footrest, move the footrest round so that it's, when it's in its resting position, it's square to the frame. Right, I'll cut this little tab off here to get at it, grind that bit of bronze out of the way so it doesn't interfere with the weld, then put a little pie cut in there and bring that around. So let me go and try that, and then I will show you the result. Alright, so I've done them both actually. There's the first one. That's welded. That's really well welded. It's full penetration. So now that goes in there like thus. And that is now right. Okay? I don't know why I didn't think of that in the first place. It was the obvious thing to do. But anyway, this one needs the ends finishing and the teeth putting on. Okay, so let me do that and finish the other one off, and then we'll look at that brake pedal, because I don't know if I like the way I'm thinking about doing it. Right, so I thought, well, I was thinking about brake pedals and stuff, I'd get on with some other little jobs. I decided I wasn't going to cut this off yet. I thought, let's not make any sort of major changes till I know what I'm going to do. I'm not going to put the electric start on, but I thought rather than cutting this off, and as a comment pointed out, who knows what this alloy is like. He suggested I find a bit like that of the cover and do a test weld. So anyway, I made up to the same dimensions as the starter motor a plug with a nice tight O-ring. So there, that goes in there. That solves that. Alright, let's look at other things. Right, so I think I've decided where I'm going to put the rear brake pedal, and I've got a temporary mounting for it. Drilled there, and just about to get a thread on 5/16 course, which is what the mounting is. Now I've milled off half of it because it's sitting on there and then it goes off down there, right? So what I've done, as I say, I've done that so that I can where are we? We want a 5/16 washer. Yeah, that holds that on, because this actually screws into that. So we can screw that into there, like thus. because it does screw into there. It's acting like a lock nut on it. Oh, that's a bugger. Doesn't work the way I wanted it to. Anyway, the idea was just to be able to hold that on there while I checked that things were right. Yeah, put that in there. Come on. Still get a nut on that. That is almost 4.5 inches actually. That'll be good for the cable. Right, so I just wanted to see where it'll go. So now what I'm going to do is I'll clean all that up, and I think when we've got the bike off so I can have it laid down, it's much easier to bronze. I'll gas bronze that onto there so that it will all, I think, melt into this bronze and make that a good solid fit. Okay, so we'll leave that now, and I don't think that's too bad for my boat. That will go in closer. We'll put a flat-headed bolt on there. That will go in another 1/4 inch or so, and we'll lose 1/8 inch there, so it's going to be in a bit. I think that'll work all right. Hang on, don't go away. That actually could have done with being a bit longer. I can always extend the extension. Yeah, that'll be alright. I think that'll be alright. If not, we can redo it. Alright, so let's finish this head steady thing off. So I've kept this simple and just added a piece onto there. So that goes on there. Oops, I put it on the wrong way around. That goes on there. And then we'll put a tab on there, and that'll just give us a nice strong what's it. Okay. Right. So that'll do for the day. So I'll see you tomorrow. Good morning. Alright. So as you can see, I made a little tab to go on there, bronzed it on. It's a bit awkward under there, so I'll redo it when the frame's laid on the welding table. Alright, so the idea is that goes up there like that. Oops, still warm. That goes in there like that. Goes in there like that, and that gets tightened up. Over there you can see I disconnected the wires for the electronic ignition. Alright, and there we have one nice strong head steady. I took the carb off so I could get at it to weld it. So let me put the carb back on and then we'll move on to the next thing. Now while I had the welder over here, I thought I'd put a little tack on this where it's steel to steel. I've also cleaned up, or sanded actually, the bronze on both sides to get any nickel off it. So when I've got the frame over there, I can lay it down and do that properly. So something intrigued me here. I got transferred to the US in '91. So I was working in the Middle East from the early 80s for about 8-9 years. Unless my memory's going, I don't remember as being decimalised. I mean, the money was in what, 71. I was working on the insurance then actually. I was selling insurance door to door. And it was a bit of a con that we could say to people, well, you know, it's only another penny a week. But of course it wasn't. It was a new penny, which was 2.4 old pennies. But anyway, the thing is, I can't remember when we went properly decimalised. But all the fittings on this are metric. All the fasteners. So whether it was just because he used Bultaco engine and Honda engine, I don't know. But I'm a little bit surprised. Keeps catching me out. I thought that was 5/16 and then a 5/16 wouldn't go in. So anyway, that's on there. So I can now bronze that up nicely. Right, we're going to look at the chain tensioner. Might as well get everything done here. Put the wheel back in, put the swinging out, put the suspension units on, and then, actually I think then we're, well, apart from the rear mudguard, we're ready to look at the tank. So let's look at this chain tensioner. So here's the original chain tensioner. As you can see, it's in a pretty bad state. That's why I had to cut it off. You can also see it wasn't running true. I mean, it's been left on far too long. It's actually worn into the mounting bolts. I mean, these things are cheap. The blocks, that's the whole point. The block's just bolted on, you change the block. Anyway, there's the general shape of it. This piece at this end, you see, is where the spring went. That spring went down to that little loop that's on the bottom cross plate. And the tension of that, of course, pulled that up because the chain's running on the top, running back that way to the sprocket. So that's how it worked. It's got this boss here. I measured how much space I have between the mounting on the cross piece of the swinging arm. Well, it's actually on the swinging arm. But how much space there is for this to swivel to the actual tube of the swinging arm. So it's 3/8 of an inch. I don't know what I'm talking about at the minute. So I can make another one 3/8 of an inch to go there, just weld it into this. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to make it flat for the time being, because I don't know if any twists in this are just from it running out of true and, you know, general abuse, or whether it was designed. Because as I say, this piece it's mounted on here is actually at an angle. So if it's dead flat and I put it in, it's going to be like that, which could be why it wore down that way. Ow, I've got a splinter. I've got another blooming piece of steel stuck in my finger there. Anyway, so what we'll do is we'll use this as a basic template. Don't need that because there's a nice tab on the swinging arm up here that I can put a spring on, which I would prefer to do. I'm going to make it a bit longer because, as I say, this whole thing is so tucked out of the way. I wanted to have more support for the chain to keep it running right for the sprocket, the gear, the rear wheel sprocket. Oh dear, you can tell it's getting near lunchtime. So we'll get some, this is 1/8 inch. We'll get some 1/8 inch, cut that out. I think that looks about 3/4. So we'll drill a 3/4 inch hole in it, slide the boss in. You can see the bronze, this is bronzed in. I might just autogenous weld it on that side. and then drill these couple of holes, put the new block on that I've got. Then we'll put it on and see how much we need to just put a bit of a twist in that to get that running level when this is fastened to that angled piece. Because the way it's angled, see, that's the other thing, if I move it out a bit, it's going to be further away from the chain, which is nice, so I can bend it in slightly, keep the chain from, as it has here, running on that. It's worn it there. Anyway, we'll make it flat, and then I can put a straight edge on the gearbox sprocket to see where the chain's going to go, and we can do it all from there. Because as I say, this is all going to be done with the wheel and everything out. I can't get at it to mount this with the wheel in. Oh, the way we're going to mount it is there's going to be that boss, then there's going to be a piece that this runs on with a thin flange to stop it coming off, and that piece is going to be threaded, so it'll be 3/8 wide, so I'll make this 5/16 and then say 1/16 of a flange on it. That can then slide into place because the swinging arm's going to be right here next to that. We can slide this in and then put a bolt in from this side, and when it tightens up against the tab, that'll be able to swivel. Alright, let's find some stock. So here's our first two pieces. Right, so there's the actual chain tensioner. As I say, I've made it, let's put it that way, made it a bit longer, didn't go mad. Then for this boss we have this piece here, which is going to go in there and then get welded in. Actually it wants to go in that way. And as I say, what we'll do is we'll autogenous weld that in there, and that'll be a nice fit. Then we've got to turn a piece that will go in there from this side. That's going to be 3/4 of an inch diameter for a 1/16 of an inch to give us a little lip, and then it'll be 7/16 long at 1/2 an inch, which is what that is. That will be drilled 5/16 and tapped, and then there'll be a bolt that goes on there. This is 7/16. We'll make the piece that goes inside 7/16, which is what, 420, about 440 thou. We'll make it 450, so that when it's clamped up tight, it's able to move. All right, so let me get that welded, which means I've got to move the welder. And now there's that welded into there. Okay, so now we need the piece that's going to go in here, which is going to be, as I say, a piece of 3/4 round, which I've got in the lathe now. So there's our 3/4 round. First thing I'm going to do is drill it to the tapping size for 5/16 fine. You want me to show you a bit of drilling? Seems a bit boring, but we can risk a few seconds. About an inch, so we'll go in an inch to give us room for the cut-off tool at the end, because that's 1/8 of an inch wide. It's wobbling a little bit, doesn't it? Alright, that's enough of that. Next thing is to tap it. I've got it in there with its That little, hang on, let me swing you around. Ah, you can't see it anyway. I was going to say it's got the little sprung support. So let me tap this because you'll be in the way, and then we'll start to do the machining. Alright, so you forgot to remind me to chamfer that, didn't you? Anyway, there's that. So that's that down the centre of that. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to turn this down so that this will go on. That's 510 thou. We want that to go on with tiniest fraction showing, so that when it gets bolted up there's a little bit sticking here and it's tightening on that and not on this. So let me get that marked up. So there's that turned down. Be just a nice fit on that. Doesn't wobble, of course there's now there won't be paint to go on that. And then if we put that in there, see I put a washer on it, tighten that up, and it virtually doesn't wobble. So all I've got to do now is part this off with around about a 16th inch, what's the word I'm looking for, flange. So let me do that. Right, I'll set you up to see from that side. This is when I always keep thinking I could do one of those right angle drills, because this hole, as I say, I think everything is for metric, is just, I mean, a 5/16 goes through, but I'd love to be able to just run a drill through it. Anyway, so we put our bit in there. Now I haven't put flats or anything on this, because what I'm going to do is when we put it together I'm going to use a bit of blue Loctite. Alright, that goes in there like this. Well, you can't see me putting it in there like this, but it does go in there like this. That bolt screws up, takes that tight. Now then, that's not catching on anything. Can you see that? Yeah. Hang on, let me move you again. Hold your seat. I don't know if that's any better, is it? Let me put you on autofocus a moment. Wait. There we go. Right. So, these suspension units go from 13 inches to about 10.5. So, that's where it would be at rest. It's not catching. Oh, it's staying. Shit, why is it catching? Oh, that started to come loose. Ah, it does. That wants to be a little bit shorter. That's 10.5. And that's catching. Man, they don't give you space for anything. Right, so we're going to have to how the hell am I going to shorten this? So I can take some off that. I'll put that in the mill and mill a bit off. I'll have to put that in on a bolt and take an equal amount off there. That's a bugger. I tell you why they put it right under there. I mean, if they'd have put it there, no problem. Huh. All right. So from right down here, it's fine. And that, let me tell you, is enough for one day. Actually, I lost some time because Wednesdays I go and have lunch with Steve Shop. Let's do this the other way around. Because I want to be able to come around the other side. See, that's going to need to go in a bit. Excuse me. And we're going to have to put, that's why they have that flat-headed bolt on. Man, everything is so bloody close. No reason for that at all. Anyway, let's say that's enough for today. Yeah, Thursday tomorrow, so I'll see you tomorrow. Good morning, everybody. Right, well, experience should have taught me over the last few years that whenever I think to myself, there won't be that much work on this job, I'm wrong. Just as, I really don't understand this, just as with the prop stand, when I put a chain line on here, I catch on the mounting, I catch on the bolt. I put a little flat-headed bolt in and it still catches on it. So I thought to myself, oh, I've put the engine too far outwards. But, well, you can't see it. You know, there are witness marks, quite deep ones, on this swinging arm where the chain ran. And this chain is exactly on them. So although I didn't want to have to do it, what I'm going to have to do is put a new tab further out here. The swinging arm, you know, is at an angle, so as I move along it, I'm coming away from the chain line. But the big thing here is it's so far in there, the limiting factor is actually this frame tube. I can't move this any further out because it's up against the frame. So I don't want to have to do this. I'm going to put a new tab on there and we'll mount this here. Alright. I'll put a little cut in this, you know, cut it at an angle and then turn it round the other way. So that now, look. See, runs a lot straighter in that. Could have done with being a bit more, but never mind. That's a lot better than it was. I'm still thinking though. Now then, get sat down here. So I'll put the block on. You know, I can never understand when they make these blocks why they don't make them a bit deeper here. The holes are always right up just near the edge. It's weird. But then, so that is going to go on there like that. Tab there. I'm going to put a spring there. Little bit of a standoff, and I'll weld a piece on here. And we'll put a spring there. Yeah. That'll work nicely. Okay, so let me cut a piece of flat to make that tab. Right, we're getting close. Made up a tab. What I've also done, as I've now got plenty of space, is I just bronzed a nut onto the back of that thing to give me something to tighten it up with. And actually it has to go on that way, so that is going to go on there like thus, and as I say, we'll put a spring up to that. That can go just about there, so let me sand off what's left of that nickel there. This is going to be one of those awkward things where there's no real way to sort of clamp this. I'm just going to have to hold it and hope that I can get a tack. Anyway, that's my problem, isn't it? Not yours. You're just sitting there with a cup of tea watching me thinking, God, why is he doing it like that? Alright, let me do it anyway. Alright, so there it is on. That took me lots of bits of tape and all sorts of stuff to hold this in place to get it tacked and then bronze it. It needs bronzing on the backside yet. And before anybody comments, that's not permanent. I don't have a spring to suit, but that's how it's going to go on. Right. So actually, mention that I do get quite a lot of comments from people who don't realise sort of the idea behind a dry build. All this work is just like here to make sure things fit and will work. You know, that's not the final way. There's other bits that have got to be done. There's all sorts of things to be done to it. So don't rush and say, oh, you should do so and so. I probably will. If I haven't done it when the bike's finished, then you can comment and say you should have done so and so. But as I say, dry builds are here just to make sure everything fits and works. Alright, so that's got that on there. The only other thing I can think of is put the back mud guard on, and then really we've got to look at the tank. Okay, so I'm going to call that it for this week. Oh, I've got to make, can you see that? Let me pull you out a little bit more. I've got to make something to go in there. I did start, I don't know what I've done with it now. Oh, there it is. I did start to cut this up a little bit. Come on, stop messing me about. For that to go in there. Because what I want is to cover those wires, and I'd like a little thing here just in case the chain jumps off. So what I'll probably do is cut this right back to there. So that's just a cover for the wires, and then we'll make a little something. Because I've got a screw mount there and a screw mount there that I can use, I think, just to put a little strap piece of, I don't know, 1/4 inch wide, just to come out, go down there, go in there, just in case that jumps off. Because there is that little piece that goes in there. You see, that's sort of half it. That's meant to hold those wires back. But I want to have sort of something that covers them. Alright, oh, here's a big lorry. So that's that done. So I will see you next week, and until then, you stay safe and enjoy yourselves.